the football scientist and ESPN.com senior NFL insider, KC Joyner here on the one and only Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. A fine Friday to you, my friend.
Was a fine Thursday night game, too, wasn't it?
Yeah, no flags. That makes a big difference.
No flags, lots of scoring. Fantasy owners going crazy about being either really up about a point or down. It was a fun night.
No doubt. Real quick, before we get into this Eagles-Titans game, so you're watching those two teams last night. Where do you stack Philly next to L.A. and Minnesota?
I want to see if first off, Philly's defense is going to hold up better than Minnesota's. I've been saying for weeks this year and some last year that their defense is not as good as people think. It's not as bad as it looked last night. The Rams can do that to you, but they're not as dominant as people think. So Philadelphia's got a better defense. Got to get the offense going. If they get the offense going, I'll take them toe-to-toe against either of those teams, but they got to get the offense going.
Yeah, I know Goff, monster night last night, over 400, 5 touchdowns, perfect QB rating, and a lot of people talking, Wentz and Goff were in that same draft. People were calling Goff a bust. To me, I look at it as these two guys are in the right spots. Like if Wentz is in L.A., I don't know that he's Wentz, and if Goff is in Philly, I don't know that he's Goff. Sometimes you just go to the right place. I think that's what happened here.
I couldn't agree more, and with the right play callers too. Peterson, if he had Goff, I don't know that he runs the same style of offense. Maybe he's as effective. And McVay, if he had the way around, I think he runs maybe a different style of offense. But the type of offense McVay wants to run, Goff is perfect for it.
All right, matchups to watch: Eagles, Titans. Here we go. Let's take a look at it with KC Joyner here on the Sports Bash. All right, let's start off with what's going on in Philly. Rodney McLeod is out at safety, and the drop-off there, no, it's not huge. Corey Graham's a veteran. He knows the system, but the depth behind him. So if you're Tennessee, is that an area that you're going right after? Do they have the personnel to do it?
I don't think they have the personnel to do it, to be honest. Tennessee's offense is limited. Richard Matthews, one of their top receivers last year, he left. They weren't utilizing him enough, so they're looking at a receiving core, Tajay Sharp and Corey Davis and Taywan Taylor. And Corey Davis is good, but he's still more of a possession receiver. The other two are unknowns for a good reason. They got Jonnu Smith at tight end because Walker's out, so they don't have the players to do that. That's why last week, they went with the type of game they played last week, that smash mouth game. That's what they want to play, and maybe Philadelphia will meet them in and do that. But I don't think they have the personnel to sit back and say we can throw vertical. They don't have that offense.
If you look at the Eagles' corners, obviously they seem like they have a big advantage there with Darby and obviously Mills and Sidney Jones. You just mentioned the weapons on there. How about Henry running the ball? Is this? Philly does a great job of stopping the run. So is running the ball a recipe for Tennessee?
Tennessee, in my run-blocking rankings, right now they're 23rd in the league in my run-blocking rankings, which is incredible for that team. You'd think it was a top 5 run-blocking offense coming into the season, but they've had the injuries, and they've looked terrible. And Philadelphia right now, in my run-defense rankings, they get an A grade, and they are the 3rd best team in my metrics. And they've got one of the biggest advantages as far as run defense versus rush offense based on these metrics. And a lot of factors can play in. You can't overplay what your metrics were coming in. But if you're saying what they did after the first 3 weeks of the season, I think Tennessee's going to have a heck of a time running the football with any consistency with either backup. They use either Henry or Lewis, and I think they're going to have to throw more often. So maybe they're going to go after that matchup. But they don't have the receiving personnel to take advantage of it, I don't think.
Mariota, we know he can move. Is that the offense, getting him moving around?
Yeah, it is, except for he's been banged up, and they're still talking about it. His elbow's been banged up, and I don't think they want to get him in a lot of hits. So I think they want to keep handing the ball off and not get him dropping back there, because if he drops back there, he's got some wheels to him. But Philadelphia pass rush, I've got the Philadelphia pass rush right now rated as they've got a solid pass rush. They're doing fairly well in pass pressure rate this season, so I think they can get after him, especially again because he's got the tackle issues. They've got injuries up front. When you take those factors into account, I think that if Tennessee throws the ball as many as 30 times, it's a recipe for losing.
KC Joyner is with us, looking at the matchups to watch here in the Eagles-Tennessee matchup. Yeah, the pass rush, Philly. How's the offensive line for Tennessee stack up here? Philly, I think, has not been as good as I expected rushing the passer. They've got off to a little bit of a slow. They're still pretty good at it, as you mentioned. But I against the Tennessee offensive line, is Tennessee going to be able to protect the quarterback?
I've got it as a push. That's why I hesitated there with that metric there, because I've got Philadelphia technically ranked 23rd, but that's an overall metric. So I look at certain metrics, you can see that there are ways where they're doing better or doing worse. So I think that when I look at the grades of the matchups, and I do this article for ESPN's Plus section every week where I take a look at the blocking matchups and how well each team fares. And right now I've got this graded as a C matchup. Basically, it's a push because Tennessee's pass blocking is 21st. And again, Tennessee's not doing a lot of dropping back and throwing, so this is not something that maybe after 3 weeks it's not an accurate measurement of where they will be, but their strength has always been run blocking anyway. So this is not a matchup where I'm looking at this going, I think Tennessee is a C- blocking team like I got them graded, but I think Philadelphia's pass rush has the capacity to be a lot better. And if I'm Tennessee, I don't want to test it.
All right, we know the Eagles got some guys coming back. Alshon Jeffrey looks like he should play. He's been sick with an illness, but coming back from that injury, what does he add, and how could he make a difference in this matchup?
Oh, it's a domino effect, because if you bring him back, you might have Jeffrey, and then if you have Matthews and you have Aguilar, I still think that if you're the Eagles, I know I've been playing Aguilar on the outside. If I'm the Eagles and I know they've got I wouldn't want to play him on the outside. I still want to put my best players in the best position. And if you have, say, Jeffrey at flanker, and you've got Aguilar working as a slot receiver, and you've got Ertz, and you've got Dallas Goedert, you've got those tight ends playing where they're playing, you can deal with the one other player, the other perimeter wide receiver. You can deal with that weakness without that much of a problem. That's what if I'm there. That's what if I'm the Eagles, that's what I do, is try and get as many players in the slots where they belong, and that's what he does. Is say now they have 4 players who are in the slots where they belong, and now they only have 1 player who isn't really suited for his position. That could, if they do that and can get their offense going in that way, it changes the entire dynamic.
Also, last week we saw the tight ends get involved. Ertz and Goddard had a big week here. How can the tight ends? How is Tennessee against the tight end?
That's the one weak strong suit that they have in their secondary. In fact, they've got a pretty good defense, but the strongest suit in their secondary is Vaccaro and Byard are their 2 safeties. I have them both as red-rated players, and red-rated meaning they're matchups you don't want to face. So that's tough for the Eagles because those are safeties. They're so good in the safety part of their secondary that they can make up for the fact that their corners haven't been doing that well. Malcolm Butler's he's had a very bad season. He's somebody I think they'd want to go after. They got Adoree Jackson who's solid, and they've got Logan Ryan who I think is an up and down player. So they have players they can go after. But if I'm looking at this matchup, I'm saying I really don't want to go vertical because Byard is one of the top probably 2 or 3 free safeties in the league, and I really don't want to go to the tight end more than I have to. You have to still get them in the offense, maybe use them as slot receivers or something, but I want to stay away from those players, and I want to go after the corners and try and do what I can to take a free safety away and then try and get some one-on-one matchups.
That's interesting because last week they went 13 personnel. Philadelphia did a lot of double tights. They threw the ball 17 times to the tight ends, only 7 to receivers, but that seemingly is an area that Tennessee's pretty good. So how about running the ball against the Titans?
I think that they should be trying to lean on running the ball because their run blocking has been very, very good this year. Philadelphia's run blocking, they rank 8th in the overall run blocking metrics. And right now, if I'm looking at what I call their differential grade, which is how favorable their matchup is, because Tennessee's rush defense, they're, according to my advanced metrics, are 23rd in the league in those metrics. Philadelphia has the 4th best run blocking differential, meaning this is the 4th best run blocking matchup. So I think they should lean on that heavily and then pick their spots and say, all right, we're going to throw. In fact, if the matchups line up on the field the way they look like they're going to line up, if you're looking at it on paper, they would get Jeffrey against Butler. And if they get Jeffrey against Butler and Jeffrey plays as well as he's capable, Butler struggled terribly this year. And I think Jeffrey could put up a big game, but you wouldn't have to throw a lot of passes to it. Just pick your spots.
KC Joyner's with us. The matchups to watch here in the Eagles-Titans matchup. Down there in Tennessee, they're very good down there at home. They've won 11 out of the last 13 games. I know they went on the road last week and beat Jacksonville. So what were they able to do against Jacksonville that if you're Philly, you're concerned about?
They were able to take away the vertical passing game, and they were able to, because they took away the vertical passing game, and Jacksonville's a team that's afraid to throw the deep ball. They'll let Bortles do it at times, and when you see those times, you're like, wow, this guy could be a really great quarterback, and he goes out and throws a few touchdown passes. You say, wow, this is why you drafted him so early. But when he gets in a situation where they think he might make some risky passes, they'll scale the offense back. And I think that's what they did last week, because Tennessee said, we've got safeties who can pick off your passes, so don't be trying to throw it. And they didn't do that. So if I'm the Eagles, I don't want to let Tennessee dictate that to me. I want to say we're going to run the football, and if you guys start bringing those safeties up, we've got a good enough quarterback. And if they've got Jeffrey healthy, I'm doing stuff to at least threaten those safeties to say you're not just going to sit here and stop this running game, because if Tennessee doesn't bring the safety in the box, Philadelphia will overrun their front seven.
Yeah, I think the running game for Philly should be interesting. Ajayi's back, Sproul's out, Clement is questionable. Wendell Smallwood had a good week last week. So the Eagles have an assortment. Let's see where they go. Tight end was a big spot. This is a very intriguing matchup. What's the key matchup for you in this one?
I don't want to give up throwing all these passes to Ertz and Goddard. I don't want to not throw those because Tennessee's done so well. So I still want to see the Eagles find a way. The key, I think, is to say we can throw 7 to 10 passes to our tight ends. I don't think they need to throw any more than that. They don't need to go overboard, but 7 to 10 to say we're going to go here. We're going to make sure that between these two, we're still going to threaten your free safety or strong safety. We're going to make sure that you stay out of the box and you're worried about us going deep. And if they do that and can put enough pressure on those safeties to stay back in coverage and keep 7 in the box, I think they win this handily.
All right, on the road, Philly, you think wins handily, possibly against the Titans if they're able to do that. Overall, Tennessee is a 3.5-point underdog at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. And, of course, you can hear the game all right here on 97.3 ESPN. The Countdown to Kickoff show coverage begins at 10 a.m., and, of course, it leads you right up to Merrill and Mike. They'll have the call starting at 1 here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, KC Joyner, let's go around the league and take a look at an intriguing Week 4 slate of games here. Let's start in Atlanta, where the Falcons take on a 2-1 Bengals team, and I'm interested to see what if the Bengals are able to go on the road and get to 3-1 against a struggling defense.
I think that the Cincinnati, I do my run defense grades, and I've got red, yellow, green. Remember those setups where green is a favorable matchup? I got Cincinnati rated as a green-rated rush defense. I think Atlanta's going to be able to run the ball a lot with Coleman. They've got Ito Smith as a backup. As long as Coleman doesn't get banged up, it looks like he's definitely going to play. So they're going to be able to go with that there. And Cincinnati, I think they could threaten their secondary if they do that. So Atlanta can put up more offensive firepower and wins that pretty clear.
If Tampa could go to Chicago, they'd be a 3-1. If Chicago can win at home, they'd be 3-1. So what's the key here?
The key here is if Tampa can block, they can pass block for Fitzpatrick, because Pittsburgh proved on Monday night that if you can get a pass rush in this space, you can shut that offense down. And Chicago's got a brutally good pass rush. So I think Chicago puts a ton of pass rush in this space, and Fitzmagic starts to falter.
Detroit at Dallas. The winner of this game is going to be 2-2. We thought Detroit was a dumpster fire after opening night. They beat the Patriots last week. Can they go to Dallas and get themselves to 500?
I think they can, but remember, they play the Patriots. They know, they've got some inside information, obviously, with their head coach as to what the Patriots do. I think Dallas can play a formula game. I still think I'm probably going to pick Dallas because they're at home and because they've got the ground game, and I'm still not sold on Detroit yet. But Detroit's going to have to get Dallas out of a particular formula. I'm not sure they can do it.
Green Bay lost in Washington. Buffalo won in Minnesota. Much more impressive. So Buffalo's got to go to Green Bay. Can they pull off 2 upsets in a row?
I don't think so, because Aaron Rodgers is always a difference maker, and I still look at the Buffalo secondary. They've got a guy named Pitts as their nickel cornerback. He's not good. Jordan Poyer's not covering well as their free safety. If you've got 2 green-rated players in your secondary and you're going up against Aaron Rodgers, I'll take A-Rod every day.
All right, we've got Houston going to Indy. Indy played tough. They, a little bare-knuckle fight there against the Eagles last week, came up short in the red zone. Houston has been a disappointment. Can Houston go on the road and finally get their first win of the season, or is it going to be the Colts getting to 2-2?
Indianapolis, their defense, they've got some good players on their defense. We didn't talk about Darius Leonard earlier this week, but he's a rookie. He's the rookie of the year right now, and he's getting double-digit, almost 20 tackles a game. He's doing that well. He's got like 2 sacks last week. So they've got a really good defense. But Andrew Luck, he's got the second lowest air yards per attempt right now. He's not throwing vertical. I don't think he can. And Houston now is going to have Hopkins and Will Fuller's healthy, and going up against that defense, I think Houston's just going to be able to turn it into a shootout that Indianapolis can't keep up with.
All right, Miami undefeated. New England hasn't lost 3 in a row since 2002. Every time they've lost 2 in a row, they are 8-0 right after that. Should we take Miami serious? Can they go to New England and beat the Patriots, knocking them to 1-3?
Miami's got a green-rated rush defense, so it's something you can go and target. I think that they've got their run blocking. First 2 weeks of the season, Miami's run blocking was really good. Last week, it was atrocious, as bad as I thought it was going to be coming into the season. New England's had some problems in their front seven, but I think Miami's run blocking is actually an indicator of where they are, and if they can't run the ball, they won't win. And I don't think they're going to run well enough to win. Take New England in that one.
Jacksonville lost at home. They're at home again this week against a rookie. It seems like bad news for a rookie quarterback against a defense that played really well last week. They just lost, but Jacksonville, they get bounced back after a loss last week.
The Jets, Darnold is going to be such a good quarterback. It's so obvious that he can be that. But, you're going up against the Jaguars defense. You get Robbie Anderson, Terrell Pryor, and Anunoby as your receivers. They're solid, but you're going to go Neil Sterling as your tight end. That's who you want to go up with against these guys. I don't see it happening. And I think Jacksonville may shut them out. Even if they don't get a lot of points, they're still going to win 13-0, something like that.
Around week 4 with KC Joyner, ESPN.com senior NFL insider here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Cleveland heading to Oakland. Oakland is a 0-3 favorite. You don't see that a whole heck of a lot, but Cleveland gets an opportunity to get their second straight win. So should we buy into the Brownies this week?
Everybody talks about Baker Mayfield, and that's what people want to talk about there. I want to say about the Cleveland defense. Cleveland's defense is superb right now. Their run defense is in the top half of the league, and their pass rush, they've got the 5th highest rated pass rush team according to my metrics here. They can get after the passer, and I think that's going to be Oakland doesn't have a platoon that's that good, so I think that Cleveland's defense wins the game for them.
All right, let's go to Seattle at Arizona. This seems like the game of the week that is the most blah game of the week. If Seattle wins, they're 2-2, but nobody believes in them. Even if Arizona won, no one believes in them. So Seattle, though, can they make us believers if going on the road in Arizona?
Well, they ran the ball a lot last week, and Chris Carson, I wrote an article in ESPN's Plus section for our fantasy section about Chris Carson, if he's got things turned around. Their run blocking was just as atrocious in Week 3 as it was in Weeks 1 and 2. They just happened to have a double-digit point lead in seven drives, so they could keep giving the ball to them even though they're not getting blocked on. Arizona's run defense, it doesn't look like it in the numbers. Trust me, they're doing exceptionally well. I don't think Seattle's able to run the ball very well. In Arizona, they've only scored 20 points this season. Their offense is that bad, but I think they're going to put up more of Rosen under center, and I think they'll beat Seattle.
New Orleans, they've been kind of Jekyll and Hyde. They score a lot, they give up a lot. New York played maybe their best game in a while last week. Probably in over a calendar year. Back home now, they blocked well last week. So can the Giants back home get a win against a Saints team that's been difficult to read?
The Saints, the problem they were rather difficult to read, in part because their secondary was playing so badly, but also because the first 2 weeks of the season, they had some of the worst run blocking metrics in the league. Last week, they were run blocking as well as they did in 2017. That's a harbinger for them getting back to that sort of offense. I don't think they want to run Kamara 35 times or something, and they really don't have the backs to do it. But I think this week they're going to be able to run well enough to control the game. And then once Ingram comes back, by the way, they're going to go heavy back to that 1-2 punch. This is the last week they're going to beat that way, but they're going to be able to put up offensive firepower to beat Giants.
San Francisco, unfortunately, loses their quarterback. So this game seemingly is one of those games that even if San Francisco wins, who really cares? But the Chargers are the team that needs to get this win. I think they're at home. They've had a rough start to the season. They always seem to start the season slow, but can they get out of September picking up a victory at home against a banged-up San Fran team?
It's going to be a lot tougher than thought if San Francisco keeps run blocking like they have. They're second in the league in my run blocking metrics right now, and the Chargers have a green-rated rush defense. I think San Francisco is going to be able to run the ball. The problem is when you don't have Garoppolo under center, you've got C.J. Beathard under center, you don't have to pay as much attention to stop at the passing game, and their receivers are kind of banged up too. So I think that San Francisco can keep it a lot closer than people think, but the Chargers just have too much on offense to keep it close. I think they win by 7.
Couple more with KC Joyner, the Sunday night game. You can hear it right here on 97.3 ESPN. By the way, that Saints-Giants game, we'll have coverage of that game right after the Eagles and Titans. You'll be able to hear Saints and Giants on 97.3. We'll have Baltimore-Pittsburgh Sunday night. This one a fist fight as always. You look at Baltimore, they scored 47, right, in the opener. So their offense has the ability to score. We know that Pittsburgh can score. These two teams, I'll tell you what, when they play, it has been about as even as a matchup as possible over the years. I saw some crazy numbers when these two teams play. The last 26 games, going back to 2006, win-loss straight up, they're 13-13, and they're 12-12-2 against the spread in those 26 games. Total points, Ravens 546, Steelers 536. So it seems like this one's going to be a close one.
The Steelers get a couple players back in their offensive line, so they're blocking, even though right now I've got them rated as the 8th best offensive line in the league right now. I think their blocking is going to improve. Bad news for them is it looks like Mike Hilton, their nickel cornerback, is going to be out. Artie Burns will go back into the starting lineup. That's not good because he's been demoted for playing so badly. So Baltimore is going to have some targets to go after. Having said that, I'm not as sold on Baltimore's offense. I'm not as sold on their defense either when I start looking at their front seven. And the secondaries, I still don't think Baltimore's secondary has anybody who can stop. You got Antonio Brown and Juju. Juju was questionable this week. He's going to be playing. I don't think they can slow that offense down. So I think Pittsburgh is going to be a higher scoring game. We usually think a slugfest. I think this will be a 37-34 game, and Pittsburgh will be on the 37 side.
Kansas City at Denver. That's your Monday night football game. We'll have that game for you live on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, here's one for you. The last 33 Kansas City road games, the point spread has not mattered at all. Either the favorite has won by more than the spread or the underdog has won the game outright every time. 33 in a row for Kansas City on the road. How about that? They're on the road in Denver on Monday night. Patrick Mahomes coming out party?
I think so, and I did an analysis for that ESPN Plus article. I mentioned that this is the most favorable matchup of the week, the favorable blocking matchup of the week, Denver over Kansas City, because Kansas City's front seven, part of the reason they're going this as high-powered as they are on offense, they don't have a choice. Their front seven is atrocious. They can't stop the run. They don't pass rush well. They've got injuries in their secondary. It looks like that they're going to be playing a backup strong safety again. So I think Denver's going to be able to make this a really high-scoring game. And Denver does have a defense. Denver has an offense to keep up. They're run blocking exceptionally well, and they're pass blocking well. And they've got Sanders, and they've got Thomas. They've got guys who they can get open deep, and they have a much better defense than Kansas City. So I think Denver's actually going to win this one and bring Patrick Mahomes, and not down to earth, but maybe only throws 2 touchdown passes this week.
All right, KC Joyner, of course, right here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Before we go, Philly is at Tennessee. How do you see that one playing out?
Yeah, definitely. Tennessee is such a limited team. They've got a really good defense, and they have an opportunity to game plan their way to a competitive contest. But Philadelphia is just as good at making sure the game plan goes in their direction. So I think that Philly's going to have many more chances. When they play this game 10 times, Philly wins 7. So I think they win by 5 points.
All right, close one, 5-point, little bare knuckle fight down there in Nashville. Head to Tootsie's if you're on the way to your Nashville, if you're flying down. I know a lot of people are. Big crowd expected from the Philly area. KC Joyner, like all guests, appear via the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Don't forget, Casey's back on Monday's show to recap all of the Week 4 action. Have a great weekend, pal.
Same to you, man.